Now, converting between imperial and metric measurements is something that in a lot of places they don't need to do, but as Canadians, we definitely do. Okay, as Canadians, like I've mentioned before, we normally use metric measurements. Okay, so things like meters and millimeters and centimeters and kilometers, but due to the influence of the USA, okay, I'm going to put it nice and simply as the USA to the south, and our history of using imperial measurements, okay, we often need to do some converting, and we convert between. Right, so we convert between imperial and metric measurements. You'll notice this by the fact that we do everything in kilometers per hour, but some people still use miles to represent how far apart things are based on the fact we have mile roads. Okay? You'll notice that with our heights, if you look at your driver's license, if you have one, it has your height in centimeters. We still say our heights in feet and inches. But we do things like that. In the construction industry, a lot of the materials are given in feet, inches, yards. Well, a lot of the plans that we have and other things we think of are in meters and centimeters and millimeters. Okay, if you take design drafting, all of the stuff you do will be in millimeters, even though we measure a lot of stuff still in inches in construction. Okay, there's a lot of overlap and a lot of converting that we need to take a look at. So right here are a bunch of our conversion rates between metric and imperial. And you'll notice that in each case, they are equal to, okay, or at least somewhat equal to. They're not exact, but they're somewhat equal to, so that's what that little squiggle line means there. So this is a conversion. 1 millimeter is the same as 0.039 inches. 1 centimeter is 0.39 inches. 1 meter is 39.4 inches. 1 meter is 3.28 feet. And 1 kilometer is 0.62 miles. And then we have a couple other ones which go from imperial to metric. What we're going to be doing with every one of these, okay, when we convert, is we're going to set up this as a ratio. Okay, so if we just take a look at one of them, I'm just going to take a look at, let's do a kilometer to miles. Okay, let's use this one here. We can set it up as a ratio, and this can go either way. Okay, we can say 1 kilometer is the same as 0.62 miles. Okay, so this is how we would set it up as a ratio. Or we can set it up as the opposite way around. We could say 0.62 miles is the same as 1 kilometer. Right. Okay, so we can set it up as either or. Okay, either or, and then our other ratio just has to have the same way with kilometers on top and the miles on the bottom, or miles on top and kilometers on the bottom. So let's do a couple of examples here. The first one, a bowling lane is 19 meters long. What is the measurement to the nearest foot? Okay, or what is the measurement in feet? Well, what we need to do is we need to set up our two ratios. Okay, so every time we convert, we always set up our two ratios. So 19 meters is going to be on top, at least that's what will be on top, and we want to figure out how many feet are on the bottom there. Well, now we need to figure out a meters and feet ratio. Okay, so we can look up here, meters to feet is right here, or feet to meters is right here. We can use either one. They're going to give us slightly different answers because we don't have, they're not exact, they're rounded a little bit, but we can use either one. I'm going to use the 1 meter is 3.28 feet. Okay, so 1 meter over 3.28 feet. Okay. Now, when we do the calculation here, so let's get up our drawing. What we do is we cross multiply and divide. Okay, we're looking for feet right there, so we're missing that. So we're going to go around like this, starting with the 19 meters. So this will be 19 meters times 3.28 feet divided by 1 meter. And when we do the calculation, that's 19 times 3.28. Oops, 19 times 3.28 is 62.32 feet. Okay, so the bowling lane is 62.32 feet. Now, if we round that to the nearest foot, we can say or just 62. Okay, that's rounding it to the nearest foot. Let's say we use the other conversion rate. Let's take a look at what happens if we use the other conversion rate. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up exactly the same way over something feet, except now we're going to use, we know that 1 foot is the same as 0.305 meters. So we're going to do 0.305 meters on top because the meters is on top here. So we do meters on top here, and then 1 foot down there. And now we take a guess, cross multiply and divide. Yeah, you got it. Okay, cross multiply and divide because we're looking for the number of feet. So we start right here. All right, when we do the calculations now it's going to look a little bit like this. 19 meters times 1 foot. Let's wait till this is ready to go here. 19 meters times 1 foot. Now we're dividing by 0.305 meters. And that is going to equal, and now I'm going to do it on the calculator again. 19 is 62.30 feet, or 62 feet. Okay, still the same thing. We're still very similar. Okay, again, because we're rounding off our conversion rates, it's going to make it a little bit different. But we could do it either way. You could use either one of those ratios. All right. Example number 2 here says Hans is driving home during a road trip in the US where all lengths are in miles. He sees this sign on the highway. How far is he from Canada? Well, 54 miles from Canada. So let's, again, set up our ratio. Okay, every single time we're going to set up a ratio, we put what was given on top, 54 miles. Just make sure, 54 miles, and we put what we want to find on the bottom, kilometers. Then we look for a conversion rate that has miles and kilometers in there. Now this is the page that I'm going to give you, and you're going to have a copy of this one, conversion rate. Miles to kilometers, there's 2 different ones. We could use either or. Okay? Because it doesn't really matter, I'll use this one here. 1 mile is 1.61 kilometers. So on here, I'm going to do 1 mile, and then 1.61 kilometers on the bottom. Notice the miles are on top, kilometers are on the bottom. Let's cross multiply and divide. So there we go. We do our little fish. And again, I'm just going to call it a fish for the most part, because that's what I'm going to do. It's just going to be cross multiply and divide. I'm going to write it out like that more or less every time. So put this into an equation here. 54 miles times 1.61 kilometers divided by 1 mile is equal to 54 times 1.61, 86.94 kilometers. And it asks us to round it to the nearest kilometer. So we're going to say or 87 kilometers. Okay. So he's 87 kilometers away from home. Okay. Or 87 kilometers away from home, away from Canada. All right, so that would be, again, converting. Now, each example is just going to be converting. Sometimes we're going to need more than one measurement. Sometimes we're going to have, or more than one conversion. Sometimes we'll just be able to do one conversion. Number 3 here, okay, it says when applying for a driver's license, height is required. As I mentioned, the length must be given in centimeters. I am 5 foot 10 inches tall. What is the height given on my driver's license? Okay, well, we need to change feet and inches into centimeters. Now, instead of doing 2 conversions, 5 feet is the same as 60 inches. 10 inches added on means that I am 70 inches tall. So I'm just going to put that in there. Instead of doing all the conversions there, this is 70 inches. So let's just convert 70 inches into centimeters. Now, preferably, it's good to just put it all into one measurement. It makes it easier to convert just to one. So we're changing 70 inches, and we want to convert that into centimeters. Okay, let's look at our conversion rates. Do we have any that have inches and centimeters in there? Well, 1 centimeter is 0.39 inches. 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. We can use either or. I'll use this one in this case. 1 inch, 2.54 centimeters. So 1 inch over 2.54 centimeters. And as I mentioned, you won't need to memorize that chart. That will always be given to you. Okay, so again, cross multiply and divide. And now we do our conversion here. So 70 inches times 2.54 centimeters divided by 1 inch equals 70 times 2.54 is 177.8 centimeters. And so if we look at there, the final answer would be Mr. Barkman's driver's license shows, let's just license and spell that correctly, shows 178 centimeters as his height. And that is in fact correct. My driver's license does show that I am 178 centimeters tall, okay, because I'm 5'10". So it's a conversion between 5'10" to centimeters. All right, the last one here is a bit of a longer word problem. We're told that Lori swims laps in a 25-meter pool to prepare for an Ironman competition. The swimming portion is 2.4 miles long. How many lengths of the pool does Lori need to swim to match the Ironman swimming section? Well, in this case here, we need to switch the number of miles into meters, and then we divide by 25. Just like we did in the previous example where we had to switch miles in inches and divide by inches, we want to now switch this into meters. So what we're going to do here, and I'm going to simplify it a little bit, because often we'd have to do two, because I don't give you a conversion from miles to meters. I do have from miles to kilometers, and we're going to actually use that one there. So 2.4 miles over meters. I'm going to want to change it into meters. And we are told that 1 mile is 1.61 kilometers, which is the same as 1,610 meters. Okay, so 1 mile is 1 mile. Let's get this right here. Is the same as 1,610 meters. Now, I don't necessarily give you that on your page, but you can use that as in your memory bank there. All right, I'm just trying to kind of make this go a little bit quicker. Let's convert to figure out how many meters there are in 2.54 miles. So we do 2.4 miles times 1,610 meters. And then we're going to divide by 1 mile. And that equals 3,864 meters. All right, once you know how many meters, now we can figure out how many laps she needs to go. We're going to divide this by 25. And so we're going to take our next one here, and we're going to do, wrong one, 3,864 meters, divide by 25 meters. And this is 154.56 laps. So it tells us now she can't just do half a lap because then how would she finish? So this tells us that Lori will need to swim 155 laps of the pool to match the Ironman competition length. Competition length. And let's go like that. There we go. Okay. So again, this is how we would finish off our question. If there is some context, we solve with some, we give some context as the answer. So convert to the unit, and then we divide by it. All right, I'd like you to work on questions 3 and 8 to 16, which all deal with converting metric measurements as well as between metric and imperial measurements. Please use your formula page or your conversion page, which you're given here. Remember that each one of these conversions is a fraction. So we just set it up like a fraction.